So Sean Brady versus Leon Edwards took place last night in London, and oh my goodness, I did not expect this kind of performance out of Sean Brady. Let me just say, I did expect Sean Brady to win. I just don't think Leon is motivated at this point. He's had the belt. He's had his 2 title defenses, He's lost it to Belal. After you lose the belt to Belal, it's all downhill from there, and that showed in the fight. But good Lord, it looked like Leon Edwards had never defended a takedown in his entire life. I mean, going into this fight, I was like, okay, Sean Brady is probably going to dominate Leon Edwards to a decision, but I did not know it would be a Habib-type domination. I mean, look at the stats. Total strikes, 221 to 23 in favor of Sean Brady. Significant strikes, 57 to 23. Sean Brady, 44 to 10 to the head. Leon had a couple more body shots and 11 minutes of control time, 5 for 7 on takedowns. What happened to Leon Edwards' takedown defense? This guy was one of the most underrated wrestlers in the welterweight division from what we remember, right? Leon Edwards was always that guy that was like, man, he can take down Colby. He can take down Usman. He can defend a good takedown. But his last 2 fights against Belal and Brady, it's like this guy forgot what wrestling is. Leon Edwards just got utterly dominated and embarrassed by Sean Brady. Like, that was a mauling like we've never seen before. I mean, you could argue 2 10-8 rounds. The second and third round, Sean Brady literally just sprinted across the octagon, took down Leon Edwards, got on his back, and just beat him up for an entire round. And then eventually in round 4, he found a guillotine submission. But it's like, man, for Leon Edwards, if you're a Leon Edwards fan, his days as a champion are 100% over. He's never getting back to the belt. And I just want to pose one question. How did this guy ever beat Kamaru Usman? That is crazy to me. Like, Kamaru Usman, fair enough, in the first fight was beating him pillar to post into the last round, bar 1 round. But it's like, how did this guy ever get 2 wins over Kamaru Usman whenever he's fighting the way he's fighting? Is it because Usman had the wobblestone, cobblestone knees, as they call it, so he didn't really dominate Leon in the wrestling like he did to other guys? Is it because... I don't know, man. It's crazy to me that Leon Edwards was a champion defending his belt twice against Usman and Colby. That's crazy to me. And he went undefeated for so long. How did nobody ever not think to check this guy's grappling, brother? Because Leon Edwards' takedown defense in his fight versus Belal Muhammad and Sean Brady is some of the worst takedown defense I've ever seen. Now, granted, Belal and Sean Brady are probably the 2 best grapplers / wrestlers in the entire division. I think Brady's the best grappler, and I think Belal's the best wrestler. I think that's fair to say. But it's like, for Leon Edwards, man, what was that, dude? You got dominated in your hometown of London. Or not London, you're from Birmingham, but still. You got dominated in London in front of your entire crowd. And then Sean Brady clowned on him after the fight, saying that he gave up in front of his home country. This was not what I expected out of Leon Edwards. I did expect Sean Brady to win, and I was actually very surprised that Sean Brady was a favorite going into the fight. I thought 100% Leon Edwards, coming off of 1 loss, was on a long undefeated streak. Surely he'll be the favorite, but odds makers saw something that we didn't see. Well, I saw, but I did not think it would be utter domination. I mean, this was like 10-8, back-to-back 10-8 rounds. I mean, if this went to decision, we was looking at like a 50-43, 50-42 for Sean Brady. And it's like, what was Leon Edwards training? Did he not drill a single takedown defense? Because he looked decent on the feet. He was kind of tagging up Sean Brady in moments on the feet. The little bit of time the fight was on the feet. But man, once it hit the ground, the skill difference was just very apparent. And for Sean Brady to go to London on a month's notice and dominate Leon Edwards like this, it's not a good look for Leon Edwards, man. Like I said, I'm not going to say his time as a top 10 fighter is over, but his time as like being a champion in the future is completely over. There are so many guys at welterweight. It's a shark tank, and Leon Edwards is going to be fed to that shark tank. You got the Buckleys, you got the Shavkats, you got the JDMs, you got the Belals, the Sean Bradys, the Ian Garys, the Carlos Prateses. There's so many guys at welterweight, and Leon Edwards, I think his time is up, man. He's had his time. Do I think he's going to lose every single fight here until he retires? I don't think that. But if he fights a strong wrestler, which a lot of the guys in this division are decent at wrestling, he might struggle, man. I mean, listen, Leon's Mr. Pretty on the feet. We all know that. He just wants to make everything look like so technical and so perfect. And ultimately, it feels like this training camp, he drilled no takedown defense. He didn't drill any wrestling. It was just striking. And yeah, I guess that's because he was scheduled to fight JDM. He put all of his training into striking, and then a month's notice out, it's like, oh, it's going to be Sean Brady. And then Leon Edwards is like, well, I think my grappling is good enough to hold up against Sean Brady. And boy, was he wrong. And not only did Sean Brady dominate Leon Edwards, but he finished him in the 4th round by guillotine choke. And it's like, This performance shocked me. Like, I was watching this fight while I was at work, like, wow, what happened to Leon Edwards? But either way, who should both of these guys fight next? For me, Sean Brady should fight the loser of Bilal Muhammad and JDM. But if he doesn't want to wait out, he could face like a Joaquin Buckley. We know Joaquin Buckley's hungry to get back in there. Sean Brady versus Joaquin Buckley. That's a banger of a matchup. If Sean Brady wants to stay busy, I think he said he did want to stay busy. And for Leon Edwards, he's probably going to take another 8 months off because that's just what Leon Edwards does. But if Leon Edwards wants to get back in there, I think a good fight for Leon would be like Ian Machado Gary, a striker versus striker matchup. I think that fight was put together at one point. They've also trained together, and Leon said he got the better of the training sessions. But either way, Leon Edwards gets dominated by Sean Brady in the main event of UFC London. Not what I expected, but yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments about that fight. Moving on to that co-main event, a lot of people on this fight were screaming robbery. I don't see a robbery. I watched this fight live, and I thought that Ulberg just out-hustled and outdid Jan Blachowicz, and the strikes show that. Carlos Ulberg, 75 significant strikes to Jan Blachowicz's 59 significant strikes. He had more headshots with 2 more. He had 4 less body shots, and he had more leg kicks, which is crazy because Carlos Ulberg was leg kicking the leg kicker. Jan typically throws out those big, ugly leg kicks, and no takedowns in this fight. The entire fight pretty much took place on the feet. I was surprised that Ulberg was nearly a 4-1 favorite. I expected him to be a favorite, being that Jan is 42, out for 2 years, coming off of double shoulder surgery. I thought that Ulberg was going to win. I actually picked him by knockout, but people saying that it's a robbery, it's like Jan Blachowicz didn't do enough, and I think he got cut in that 3rd round. He had a cut above his eyes, so that's more damage for Ulberg. More strikes landed to the head and the legs. Jan outlanded him by 4 body shots, and I felt like Ulberg also landed the better shots. So for the people screaming robbery, where's the robbery? That's what I want to know, because Ulberg, he just did more every round, in my opinion. He did more every round. I think Jan might have took the 1st round, and then Ulberg took the 2nd and 3rd. I think that's how I had it scored. Jan looked good, though. Listen, let's not crap on Jan. Jan's 42 years old, a year and a half out of the cage, coming off double shoulder surgery. I thought this guy was going to look terrible, and Jan looked good for a grandpa, for an old man, for an unk like myself. Jan Blachowicz looked great out there, and he's not an easy fight for anybody, man. Listen, if Jan Blachowicz goes out there and faces the winner of Jamal Hill versus Khalil Rountree, I wouldn't mind him. I wouldn't mind picking him, even at 42 years old, man, because that Polish body build is different, man. If you look at Jan's back in this fight, this dude's literally built like a refrigerator. It was insane to see him in there. He's always such a big guy. Anyone else giggle whenever Carlos Ulberg talks? It's funny how his face doesn't match his voice. These Aussies, man, it's funny. But either way, Carlos Ulberg won. I think that Carlos Ulberg should face Yuri Prochazka, and the winner of that can look towards a title shot. I don't think he earned a title shot quite yet. I know he's on an 8-fight win streak, but that wasn't necessarily like a title fight stamping performance. I mean, I'm sure if he sat out, the UFC might reward him with it, with how dumb they've been with the title shots. But I do think you run back the Magomed Ankalaev and Alex Pereira fight. I think that's what they're going to do. Ankalaev saying August. We'll see. But in the meantime, Yuri's free. Ulberg pretty much took no damage. Let's do Yuri versus Ulberg International Fight Week in July. Why not? That's a perfect fight to put together. Winner gets a title shot. And for Jan Blachowicz, yeah, let's see him face the winner of Khalil Rountree versus Jamal Hill. That'd be a good fight for Jan Blachowicz. He had his warm-up fight to come back after his shoulder surgery. Now he can come back and see what he's all about in the future. I don't know how many fights Jan has left. He is 42 years old. So, but yeah, man, like I said, for an old man, he looked good. And for Ulberg, impressive, beating a former champion, and is now on an 8-fight win streak in the UFC. Only loss coming to Kennedy Nzechukwu back in the day, which is crazy to think that Kennedy knocked this guy out. But great performance by Carlos Ulberg, but not the best in the world. Not the I'm getting a title shot because I smoked Jan Blachowicz type performance. Put him against Yuri. I think that's the next fight to make. Moving on to the feature fight, Gunnar Nelson versus Kevin Holland now. Am I the only one that was not impressed by Kevin Holland? Listen, Kevin Holland continues to prove to me that he has some of the worst takedown defense in the UFC upper divisions, in welterweight, middleweight, all across the board. Because even against a smaller guy like Gunnar Nelson, who's not the best wrestler, sure, Gunnar Nelson is an amazing grappler, but getting the fight to the ground has never been like Gunnar Nelson's like forte, so to speak. And he was able to get Kevin Holland down, and even at one point get him in an arm triangle. And I was like, is Kevin Holland really about to get finished by Gunnar Nelson? If Kevin Holland got fucking finished, dude, by Gunnar Nelson, I would have told him to retire. I would have told the UFC to cut him, because he would have been 1-5 in his last 6. But Kevin Holland pulled through. He almost knocked out Gunnar Nelson at the end of the first round, and who knows, the ref low-key could have stopped it, but he let it go on, and Gunnar did survive to a decision, and even got Kevin Holland, like I said, in a submission attempt. But so I think that was the right decision to not stop the fight. Let Gunnar in front of his so somewhat hometown. I think Gunnar's from Iceland, but he reps that part of the world. Either way, I did not think Kevin Holland looked great. Listen, his striking was decent. He knocked down Gunnar Nelson, but it's Gunnar Nelson, dude. When has Gunnar Nelson ever been anything special on the feet? He never has been. So for me, for Kevin Holland to make it somewhat close with Gunnar Nelson, like I know Kevin Holland like dominated in the striking, but once they got to the ground, he made it somewhat close for Gunnar Nelson. And listen, I know Gunnar Nelson's a good grappler, but don't get to the ground with Gunnar Nelson in the first place, dude. Kevin Holland always finds a way in every single fight to get pushed to the ground. And maybe that's just him not knowing what a 45-70 is, or his opponents knowing what a 45-70 is. I'm not sure. But listen, for Kevin Holland, this guy's always going to be a journeyman. This fight proved that to me. I already kind of knew that, but this fight just solidified it. You don't get taken down by Gunnar Nelson in 2025 and get dominated and nearly finish with the arm triangle. You just don't. I know I sound like I'm being a hater, but let's be real. Kevin Holland has not been the fan favorite ever since he went on the Jackson podcast, and his smug attitude about his career and the coping he does. He deserves a little bit of criticism, man. And I just think he needs to drill. Like, this dude needs to send him 2-3 years to Dagestan and forget, because his wrestling is terrible, and it always has been. But nonetheless, Kevin Holland gets the win over Gunnar Nelson, almost knocks him out in the first round. A fun fight while it lasted, but yeah, man, for Kevin Holland, maybe put Kevin Holland against like Brian Battle. Maybe that's the next fight to make. And for Gunnar Nelson, he's probably going to come back in 2 more years. I don't know who he's going to fight, but yeah, this was a fun fight, but I was not impressed at all by Kevin Holland. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about that one. And the last fight I'm going to cover, because I did not watch this entire card, guys. I'll be honest. I didn't even watch this fight. I was at work while the fights were on. It was very hard to watch, but I came through and I still watched the last 3 fights for you guys. Marcin Tybura gets a what people are calling a robbery win over Mick Parkin. And you know what? If we're just looking based off the stats, it definitely seemed like a robbery. Significant strikes, 60 to 61. Well, no, maybe not. I was looking at the total strikes. Significant strikes are pretty much dead even. But Mick Parkin landed way more to the head, and Marcin Tybura landed way more to the body. And then Parkin landed more to the legs. Parkin had more control time. He was 1 for 1 on takedowns. I don't know, man. This was a blob fest. People were calling it a robbery. Let me know in the comments, was this fight a robbery, guys? If you look just at the stats, it does seem like it was a robbery. Because to me, call me crazy, but I value strikes to the head way more valuable than strikes to the legs or the body. And it seems that Marcin Tybura had way less strikes to the head than Mick Parkin. I'm going to have to go back and watch this fight. I haven't had time, boys. I just wanted to put a recap of what happened at UFC London. And yeah, man, it's unfortunate that 39-year-old unk in Marcin Tybura. Listen, Marcin Tybura is the definition of what we call a crafty vet at heavyweight. If you can pass the Marcin Tybura test, you're going to the top of the division. Just look at Tom Aspinall. You know, the second he beat Marcin Tybura, this dude's the GOAT of the heavyweight division. I'm joking. But either way, Mick Parkin gets stripped of his undefeated record. And, you know, I'm not too sad about it. Let's be real. Mick Parkin's a decision merchant at heavyweight. That's the last thing we need to see at heavyweight. We already got enough decision merchants in the UFC. We don't need another one. But it is unfortunate if it was a robbery. I'm not sure. Everybody was screaming robbery. Apparently, there was a few bad decisions on this card, but I couldn't catch most of the fights. But yeah, Marcin Tybura gets another win. This guy continues to prove, even at 39 years old, he still got it. Unk still got it. Even if it was, so to speak, robbery, it still was somewhat of a close fight in terms of the strikes. So got to put some respect on Poland's Marcin Tybura. And yeah, man, he did what Jan Blachowicz couldn't tonight. He pulled through for Poland. No, I'm kidding. Shout out to Jan Blachowicz. But other things that happen on this card, Molly Meatball McCann gets submitted and she retires. Listen, I respect Molly Meatball because at the end of the day, she was one of those women's fighters that either got finished or she went for the finish. So I respect her in that regard, but man, was she never UFC caliber. It was nice to see her get to retire in front of her home crowd. She did her thing. She made it to the UFC. Just couldn't cut it, man. And yeah, she gets submitted again. So proving that she has little to no jiu-jitsu on the ground. Yeah, this was the London card. It was fun. I did not think Leon Edwards was going to get beat pillar to post like that, like he did. I thought that Carlos Ulberg would win, but I thought he would get a knockout against Blachowicz. I should have knew better. And Kevin Holland, I was not impressed at all. And Mick Parkin apparently got robbed versus Marcin Tybura. So this is my recap of the card, boys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. A lot of people are saying this is like a 5 out of 10 event, given all the decisions. I even seen pundits online that were there at the event saying it's one of the worst and most lackluster events they've ever been to. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Was this a crappy event? Are the fans too spoiled? I appreciate you guys watching. Like and subscribe. And I'm out, guys. Deuces.